Before we start, just a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. Only 2% are subscribed at 1,000 subscribers. I'll be posting a special video. My glass hit the fork for a toast and Jenna swayed. I'm Alex, 29, and that was my engagement dinner. Everyone turned toward me with polite smiles and raised drinks. Then Jenna clutched her throat and her eyes went wide. Her chair scraped back so hard it shocked the whole table. She staggered 2 steps, grabbed Matt's arm, and dropped to her knees. For a second, nobody moved, because no one understood the script yet. I still held my glass up like an idiot, waiting for someone. Jenna wheezed loud, pointed at the platter in front of me. Her voice came out shredded and dramatic, like a bad audition tape. "I can't breathe. I'm reacting to that," she rasped. The same appetizer I had picked from the tasting menu. My name was suddenly attached to her gasps, a warning label. Matt dropped his drink and knelt beside her, hands hovering uselessly. His mom started shouting for someone to call emergency services right now. Her dad shoved napkins under Jenna's head and begged her to stay awake. Nobody looked at me, still standing there with the untouched toast. A manager rushed over with a tight smile and a small notebook. "Is she allergic to anything?" he asked, eyes locked on me. I opened my mouth, then realized I had no idea what to answer. Jenna groaned louder, like the volume button had been hit on purpose. My mind did this awful split screen, proposal joy on one side. On the other side, I saw lawsuits, guilt, and our families blaming me. I lowered my glass slowly, because it felt like a weapon in my hand. Part of me wanted to vanish under the tablecloth instead of breathe. "Matt, why would you let that near me?" Her voice cracked. She gripped his wrist like she expected him to drag her away from danger. He kept saying her name on repeat like that fixed anything. My mom whispered that we should stop the music and clear the plates. His dad glared at the food like it had insulted his daughter. Someone asked who picked the menu, and 3 heads turned toward me. I felt my cheeks burn hot, which only made me look guiltier. The manager asked again if he should call an ambulance right now. Jenna jerked upright enough to wave a hand and refused immediately. "No hospital." Her voice came out rough. "They always overreact and stick me with needles." The refusal hit me strange, because someone that scared usually wants help fast. She lay there clutching her chest, but her eyes kept flicking around. She watched every reaction like she was scoring them in her head. My stomach twisted with this ugly thought I did not want to test. What if she was not just sick? What if she liked this chaos? My future mother-in-law took the glass from my hand without looking. "We will restart your speech later, honey, after this settles down." She patted my shoulder twice and went back to crouch by Jenna. The diamond on my finger suddenly felt cheap and invisible under that scene. Hours later, Matt sat on our couch in silence. I stood by the sink in my dress with raw fingers. "So our engagement party turned into Jenna's medical show," I muttered. He rubbed his face hard and said she just needed support right now. Support is one thing, hijacking the whole night is something else. I heard my voice shake, which annoyed me more than his defense. He stared at the floor and mumbled that I was being dramatic about it. That word sat between us like a warning, and I pushed it aside. Looking back now, that night was the first time I saw the pattern clear. Every time my life stepped into the spotlight, she found a way to drag it sideways. I should have trusted that cold feeling in my chest, instead I smiled through it. Because that fake emergency was only the opening act, and I had no clue. The photo hit our group chat while I checked venue emails. Jenna stood in front of a mirror wearing a white gown. Caption underneath screamed in caps, "Bridesmaid option." My jaw clenched before my brain caught up. I knew this would explode. I opened the image again and zoomed on the neckline. It looked bridal, not supporting cast at someone else's ceremony. My thumbs hovered over the keyboard while my heart hammered. I typed deleted, then finally sent. "We already talked about this, no white." 3 dots appeared under my message, then vanished. For a minute the chat stayed frozen and loud in my hands. Finally she replied with a flood of crying emojis and hearts. "Wow, I just wanted to feel beautiful for you." That last word "for you" made my stomach twist. Matt walked into the kitchen scrolling on his own phone. He glanced at me, then at the screen, then back again. Is that the dress thing? He asked, rubbing his forehead. I turned the phone so he could see the picture clearly. Tell me that does not look like a wedding dress. He squinted, then shrugged like it was a minor thing. It is a little much, but maybe it photographs differently. I stared at him because that sounded like a weak joke. We set a clear go. I'd line no light shades, no arguments. He lifted both hands like I was overreacting again. Jenna started sending voice messages before he could answer. Her audio came through choppy and dramatic, with sniffles between words. I just hate how I look in dark colors. You know I struggle with that. You're punishing me because I have curves. That last line hit right in my guilt center. Matt watched my face while the recording continued in my palm. You get the ring, the party, the whole fairy tale. Can I at least not feel like the ugly one? My thumb shook over the reply button. I typed slow so I would not soften the boundary again. Nobody is asking you to look bad, just not bridal. That dress is too close, choose from the others we sent. I hit send before I could chicken out of it. For a second I felt almost proud, then fear rushed back. Her answer came as a screenshot, not a normal response. She posted the dress on her story with a poll. Is it wrong to wear this as a bridesmaid if bride is chill? Options were yes, she's jealous, and no, let her shine. Matt swore under his breath when he saw the poll. Comments started rolling under the story in real time. Random friends wrote things like you look like the bride. Jenna replied to them with smiling faces and little broken hearts. One message from his cousin popped up in our private chat. Did you actually approve that, or is she messing again? I felt heat crawl up my neck while I typed back. Absolutely not, please pretend you never saw that story. My fingers trembled, which annoyed me even more. I was supposed to be choosing flowers, not policing outfits. Instead, I was damage controlling my own bridal party. His mother called within an hour, no greetings, straight to it. I just saw Jenna's post, can we not make this a war? She loves you, she just wants to feel included and special. Maybe let her have this one thing for peace. The peace part landed like a threat, not a suggestion. I pressed the phone tighter to my ear and forced calm. I am not banning her, I am asking for basic respect. White is off limits for everyone except me. If that is hard, she can wear something simple and sit. There was a long silence that made my heart pound louder. Finally, his mom exhaled loudly enough to buzz the speaker. You know how sensitive she is about comparisons. If guests praise you more, she will crumble. We should try to avoid pushing her buttons that day. My brain quietly asked whose wedding this was supposed to be. The next weekend we met at a bridal shop with bridesmaids. Racks waited with dresses I had actually approved and budgeted. Everyone else grabbed colors and headed to changing rooms. Jenna strolled in late, carrying her own garment bag. My pulse spiked when I saw how careful she handled it. She unzipped the bag halfway and a pale fabric spilled out. I did not need the whole reveal to recognize the shape. I know you said no white, but this is more champagne. She smiled at the others like we were filming a commercial. My maid of honor went very still beside her chair. The consultant glanced between us with an awkward, tight smile. Do you want to try our styles first today? I could feel everyone waiting for my reaction like a test. I stepped closer to Jenna's bag and took a slow breath. That is not happening, please hang it back up. Her eyes filled fast, almost on command, like she flipped a switch. I spent my own money on this because I was excited. You always shut me down when I try to help. She clutched the hanger against her chest like someone might grab it. Two bridesmaids shifted their weight and stared at the floor. I pulled her aside into a corner between fitting rooms. My voice dropped low because I did not want an audience. You can pick any of the darker dresses here and look amazing. You cannot wear something bridal to my ceremony. If you show up in that, you will be turned away. She flinched like I had slapped her across the mouth. You would embarrass me like that in front of everyone. I felt my throat tighten, but I held the line anyway. You are the one pushing this, not me. Her lips trembled as she whispered that I was cruel. Back in the main area, she chose a grudging option from the rack. She yanked the zipper up with jerky movements that screamed resentment. When she stepped out, everyone told her she looked fantastic. She stared at herself in the mirror with a flat expression. I could almost hear her calculating how to flip this later. On the drive home, I gripped the steering wheel too hard. Matt watched the road and kept stealing quick looks at me. She cried in the car after you left, he muttered eventually. She feels like you are trying to erase her from your life. That twist of guilt tried to climb my chest again. I stared straight ahead and forced myself to answer slowly. I am trying to keep one boundary on one important day. She can sparkle every other weekend for the rest of time. He drummed his fingers on his knee like he wanted this over. Can you just not engage her drama? He asked softly. That line told me everything about whose comfort mattered most. He wanted a quiet path even if I walked it alone. I bit my tongue hard enough to taste metal on that ride. Later, replaying that conversation, I saw how clearly I was warned. Back then, I brushed it off as per-wetting nerves, which was my worst mistake. The makeup brush was near my eye when the door flew open. Jenna marched in dragging a ring light and a tripod. I flinched, the artist jerked back and a line smeared. She looked straight at her own reflection, not at me. Do not freak out, I brought a surprise. She popped the tripod open in the middle of the room. Live reaction content for my followers, bridal edition. The words bridal edition made my shoulders lock. The makeup artist glanced at me, brush hovering midair. Please turn that thing off. My voice came out sharper than I planned. Today is not a social media experiment. Jenna's mouth fell open like I had slapped her. You should be grateful I want to hype your day. Her hand rested on the light like it was a microphone. You know how hard I worked to grow my platform. I could feel everyone pretending not to listen. Film your own prep later, not this. I stared at the stand planted beside my chair. If you post me crying or smeared, I'm done. She dragged the tripod 2 steps back, not out. Fine, I'll keep it wide, just vibes, no tears. She tapped her screen with quick, annoyed movements. The ring glowed to life anyway, and my chest thudded. I watched my face appear on her phone for a second. Her overlay text popped up, getting my brother's bride ready. Tiny hearts floated up the screen from people I did not know. I looked away before I started yelling. She started narrating for her viewers like I wasn't there. Look how calm she is, she trusts me completely. She zoomed in on my hands gripping the robe. I forced my fingers to loosen, just so she'd have less material. You're shaking, she whispered once the camera angled lower. Her breath brushed my ear, her tone almost pleased. Big moment, everyone will be watching every step. I swallowed hard and pretended that line hadn't hit exactly right. The coordinator poked her head in and called for bridesmaids. Jenna swung the tripod shut with a dramatic sigh. Don't worry, she told the phone as she hit end. I'll be back with a surprise for the ceremony. That word surprise made my skin prickle. Whatever you are planning, clear it with us first. I stood up so we were level in the mirror. If it isn't on the schedule, it isn't happening. She smiled sweet, that same practice soft look. I would never ruin your day, you think I'm a monster. Her eyes shone like she might cry, which was her favorite weapon. I forced myself to nod once and let her walk out. In the hallway lineup, she pushed to stand near the front. I need to be right behind her for symmetry. She nudged another bridesmaid out of place with a tight grin. I heard quiet muttering behind us, tension rippling through the line. The music started, everyone surged forward in order. Jenna kept checking over her shoulder for the videographer. She adjusted her hair every few seconds, chasing the perfect angle. Every gesture screamed, "Look at me," while I waited to walk. At the doors, the coordinator squeezed my hand once. Ready? I nodded, even though my heart hammered like it wanted out. Far down the aisle, I spotted the ring light already set up. Jenna had planted it near the front row between chairs. Her phone sat clipped in, already glowing. I caught her smirk as she joined the bridesmaids up front. I almost turned around right then. We walked anyway, because the ceremony would not restart for me. During the vows, I felt the phone pointed in our direction. Every time the officiant paused, Jenna dabbed her eyes dramatically. She kept angling her body toward the camera, almost blocking my view. When we kissed, a cheer rose and cameras flashed. Out of the corner of my eye, her ring light flickered. She had switched angles to capture herself clapping behind us. Later, seeing the footage, that detail would make me shake. As we walked back up the aisle, she squeezed my arm. "Your entrance just went viral in real time." Her grin was wide, almost manic. I forced a thank you through tight teeth and kept moving. At the reception, the DJ checked off names for speeches. Best man, maid of honor, parents, that was the list. I saw Jenna whisper to him, hand resting on his elbow. Their eyes flicked toward me, then away fast. I cut through the crowd and stepped between them. Everything set with the schedule. My tone was light, but my stomach crawled. The DJ glanced at his notes and nodded too quickly. Jenna mentioned a fun little toast. He gestured toward her with an uncertain smile. She said, "You knew." I sent art at him until he looked down at his clipboard. "I don't, that's not happening." My voice dropped lower over the speakers warming up. "No extra speeches, we talked about this in advance." Behind me, Jenna let out a soft, wounded sound. "So now I'm not allowed to speak at my own brother's wedding." Her eyes pulled again on cue. "You keep shutting me out like garbage." A few relatives turned, catching only her last words. Matt walked over, sensing the static instantly. "What is going on?" He looked between my clenched jaw and her trembling lip. In that split second, I already knew how this would tilt. "She's banning me from the microphone," Jenna blurted. "I wrote something heartfelt and she wants to censor it." She grabbed his arm, nails pressing into his sleeve. "I swear I just want to support you." His gaze landed on me, questioning. "We can let her say a few words, right?" He rubbed his forehead like this was a minor headache. "We don't need more drama on the dance floor." There it was again, that quiet plea for peace at my expense. I looked at the guests finding their seats, waiting for events. If I fought here, the whole evening could crack open. "Fine," I muttered, 2 minutes, no digs, no surprises. He exhaled like I had saved the night. Jenna lit up like she had won an award. "Trust me," she chirped as she adjusted her dress. "You'll thank me when you see the footage." After dinner, the DJ called up the planned speakers. The toasts were sweet, a little awkward, mostly harmless. My cheeks hurt from smiling for cameras and relatives. Just when I thought we could move on, Jenna stepped forward. She took the microphone with both hands like it was sacred. "I wasn't on the list," she started with a shaky laugh. "But I begged for a chance to talk about these two." A ripple of polite cheers moved through the room. At first, I didn't think she was good enough for him. The crowd made a low noise at that, surprised. Jenna paused, pretending to catch herself like it was a joke. She had all these rules and boundaries and systems. My spine went rigid behind my smile. I felt every eye in the room swing to our table. She went on, voice soft but clearly amplified. "I thought she was trying to take my brother away." She turned toward me with that fake teary warmth. "But then I realized she loves control because she cares so hard." A few people chuckled, unsure if they should laugh or cringe. I couldn't tell if my face still looked friendly. She made charts, schedules, food restrictions, dress codes. She laughed into the microphone like it was adorable. If you break one tiny rule, she kind of loses it. More laughter now, some of it too loud. That's how I knew she was perfect for him. She smiled at Matt as if she had gifted him something. "She'll keep this whole family in line whether we like it or not." She raised her glass toward me like a crown. People clapped, some whistled, some looked uncomfortable. On the outside, it sounded like a compliment wrapped in jokes. Inside, it felt like she had carved a label into my forehead. "Control freak bride," broadcast to the entire room. The DJ moved us into the first dance while the mood was weird. As we walked to the floor, Jenna ducked toward her ring light. She set her phone to record again, framing herself and us behind. Our song started while she posed in the corner, tossing her hair. I tried to focus on Matt and our steps. "Let it go," he murmured near my ear. "She's just being herself." That line almost made me miss the next turn. From the edge of the floor, I heard her narrating into her phone. "They look so cute, I'm literally sobbing." Her voice drifted over our song like a second soundtrack. For a second, I wanted to walk off mid-dance. We finished to applause that felt thin and scattered. Guests swarmed in for their own dancing, bumping shoulders. Jenna rushed up with her phone already open. "Our first family TikTok," she announced, grabbing my wrist. She pulled me and Matt into the ring light circle. "Do the trend with me, it will blow up." Before I could answer, she hit record and counted down. I stared into the lens, feeling fury simmer just under my skin. We went through the motions stiffly while she beamed. After, she checked the clip and squealed about the views climbing. "See, people love us," she crowed, hugging Matt from the side. I realized I felt like an extra in my own wedding video. That night, peeling off my dress hours later, my hands shook. My voice came out flat when I finally spoke. She turned the whole day into content. In the bathroom mirror, I barely recognized the tired eyes staring back. If I had trusted that feeling right then and there. If I had drawn a hard line that night instead of swallowing it. Maybe the next stunt would never have reached my pregnancy. But I kept choosing peace over my own sanity, and she kept learning I was easy to step over. My phone buzzed. While I was taping the last gift box. Jenna's name lit up with a new message. "Might have to skip your shower." The tape stuck to my fingers as something sank in my chest. Of course she picked today to drop a bomb. I wiped my hands and opened the chat fully. "Why, what happened?" 3 dots appeared, then a long paragraph popped up. "Doctor thinks something is wrong, possible fertility issues, I'm a wreck." My throat went dry so fast I had to lean on the counter. I stared at the words "possible fertility issues" until they blurred. I was about to celebrate a pregnancy she knew I wanted. Now her crisis sat between me and that joy like a wall. "Are you at the clinic right now?" My fingers shook over the keyboard despite every instinct to protect myself. Her answer came fast, too fast for someone in an exam room. "No, they called with some results. I need more tests today." A crying selfie followed, eyes red, hand over her mouth. "I don't want to ruin your day, I just can't fake happy." Guilt slammed into me before I could stop it. I typed deleted, then started again slower. "If you really need tests today, take care of yourself first." Another pang hit as I wrote it, like I was inviting disaster. "We can see you another time once you feel better." I stared at that last line knowing I did not mean it. She replied with another message almost immediately. "I knew you'd understand, you always put me first." There it was, the hook disguised as a compliment. "I'll see if I can swing by for a bit after." I watched the words swing by and felt my jaw tighten. My best friend walked in carrying a tray and saw my face. What did she do now? I held out the phone without explaining. Her eyes skimmed the messages and her mouth flattened. "She picked today for this. I can't be mad if something is really wrong." The words sounded weak even to me. Imagine getting that call and then walking into a party. I rubbed my forehead hard, trying to push down suspicion. Underneath, something cold whispered that I had seen this pattern. The week before, she had plastered vague posts all over her profile. "Some news from my doctor, please send prayers." No details, just a photo of her hand in a waiting room. At the time I brushed it off as stress, we were all busy. Now those posts felt like a warm-up routine. Guests started arriving, calling my name, hugging my shoulders. Everyone touched my stomach and asked how I felt. I smiled until my cheeks hurt and tried to stay present. In every pause, my eyes drifted back to my silent phone. I hated that I was watching for her like a storm. Halfway through the games, another text popped up. "Just finished more scans, might stop in but I look awful." She attached a picture in a hospital gown, wires visible. My heart lurched into my throat and I sat down hard. If that image was real, I was the worst person alive. My friend leaned over my shoulder and zoomed in. She frowned, then quickly shrank the photo again. "You should not be seeing this right now." Her hand pressed against my arm to ground me. "She could have waited to tell you until tomorrow." People clapped from the other side of the room for another game. Someone called my name to open gifts and take photos. I stood up because everyone was watching, not because I felt ready. In the corner of my eye, my phone lit again with her name. I had to force myself not to look while cameras flashed. When I finally checked, there was a new message. "Okay, I'm coming for a little while, don't be mad if I cry." My friend groaned quietly and tipped her head back. Of course she found the strength to attend the party. A laugh caught in my chest and turned sharp instead. I went to the bathroom to breathe before she arrived. In the mirror my smile looked frozen and strained. This is supposed to be happy, I whispered to my own reflection. I pressed my hands to the sink until my knuckles whitened. I already knew she would make herself the main scene. When I came back, my mother-in-law was near the snacks. She rushed over and grabbed my hands with damp eyes. Do you know what your sister-in-law is going through? Sympathy dripped from every word like syrup. She is devastated about maybe never having children. The phrase never having children hit me right in the gut. She only said possible issues, I answered, almost defensive. I don't think the doctors confirmed anything yet. Her lips pressed together like I had committed some cruelty. She is fragile today, please be gentle if she seems emotional. I wanted to ask who was supposed to be gentle with me. Instead I nodded like a coward, because fighting felt exhausting. The door opened behind us with a loud burst of noise. Everyone turned and the room went strangely quiet. Jenna stepped in, wrapped in a big hoodie and looking wrecked. Her face was pale, hair messy, movement slow and shaky. She clutched a bottle of water. It was medical equipment. Several people rushed over, voices rising with concern. What are you doing here? You should be resting. She exhaled shakily and let herself fold into their arms. I couldn't stay away from my niece's celebration. Her voice trembled perfectly on the word niece. It hurt too much thinking I might never have this. Gasps rippled through the circle of relatives around her. My spine prickled as my own party morphed into a vigil. Someone pulled a chair into the center and urged her to sit. She sank down with a wince and touched her stomach dramatically. I shouldn't stay long, the doctor warned me not to push it. Every sentence was perfectly calibrated to raise concern. Guests who barely knew her were already wiping their eyes. I forced my legs to move closer because people were watching. Thank you for coming, I know today is a lot for you. The words scratched on the way out, but I said them anyway. She looked up at me like a tragic movie character. You deserve support, I won't let my problems cancel your joy. That line landed like a dagger wrapped in a ribbon. If I complained, I would look cruel and self-absorbed. If I stayed quiet, she owned the narrative in front of everyone. I smiled instead and felt my jaw ache from how tight it was. Inside, something small and furious kicked against my ribs. The games shifted without anyone deciding it out loud. People stopped asking me about baby names and nursery ideas. They whispered with Jenna about treatments and specialists instead. Every few minutes she dabbed her eyes with slow, deliberate movements. My unopened gifts piled up on a table like props. At one point my aunt tried to pull things back toward me. Let us have the mom to be open a few presents. I stood up to mild applause that felt half-hearted. Jenna announced she might need to lie down soon from fatigue. That phrase sucked the air right out of the room again. Do you want to use the bedroom? I heard myself ask it, even though resentment burned my throat. She nodded weakly and squeezed my hand. You're always so understanding with me, she whispered. Several relatives watched that moment like I was a saint. We settled her onto a pile of pillows in the spare room. She sighed dramatically and placed the water bottle on the table. I had such big plans for you today, she murmured. I was going to surprise you with something cute online. The word online made my shoulders tense almost on reflex. What kind of plans? I kept my voice level with effort. She tapped her phone with slow, tired movements. I'll post it later if I still feel up to it. I knew that meant she already drafted something. Back in the main space, my friend cornered me by the table. This is messed up, she hissed under her breath. She just turned your day into a fundraiser for her pity. I picked at a loose edge on a plate to avoid crying. She might actually be sick, I said, hearing the crack in my tone. Both things can be true, my friend replied, eyes sharp. She can be scared and also love the spotlight too much. My mind fought that idea because it sounded mean. But my gut remembered my engagement dinner and the wedding night. The pattern was no longer a coincidence, it was a script. After everyone left, the house looked demolished and weirdly quiet. Jenna had gone home an hour earlier with help from her parents. She hugged me on the way out and whispered a final line. If anything happens to me, please tell her I loved her already. The her meant my unborn daughter, and it chilled me. Once the door shut, my knees finally went weak. I sank onto the couch and dropped my head back. Matt sat beside me with a heavy exhale. She really scared me today, he muttered into his hands. I don't know what I'll do if her tests are bad. Something sharp shot through my chest hearing that. What about me? What about if something happens to me? The question came out louder than I intended. He blinked like he had not considered that angle at all. I mean, obviously both of you, he added quickly. I stared at the ceiling, counting the tiny sounds in the house. Baby gifts rustled when the air vent kicked on. In another room, leftover ribbons scraped softly on a table. I felt like I was floating above my own life. Down below, Jenna's shadow hovered over everything. Later that night, when he fell asleep, I picked up my phone. I opened her profile because curiosity finally beat guilt. The fresh post sat at the top, already filling with comments. A long caption about getting heartbreaking news and holding my niece tighter. The photo was the same hospital gown selfie from earlier. I read the caption twice, feeling heat creep up my neck. She mentioned possible loss of my future babies and spending the day grieving. She wrote that she had pushed through unbearable pain to attend my shower. She described me as the strong one in herself. As the broken aunt. I wanted to throw the phone, but I kept scrolling instead. I clicked on her tags section and scrolled down out of habit. Old posts blurred past, all angles and thirst traps in dramatic quotes. Then something familiar flashed by so fast I nearly missed it. I scrolled back up slowly, heart pounding against my ribs. There she was again in the same gown, same pose, same wires. The older post had a different caption but the identical photo. Emergency tests tonight, pray for me, 3 years earlier. Same angle, same thin blanket, same wristband placement. The only difference was the filter on top of the image. My brain stalled like a car, then roared back even louder. I opened both pictures in separate tabs and flipped between them. Every tiny detail lined up, from the folds on the sheet to her hair. It was not a similar day, it was the same exact moment. This afternoon's update was just an old scene reposted as new. My stomach flipped so hard I had to put the phone down. I walked to the bathroom and splashed water on my face. In the mirror, my eyes looked wide and almost wild. She used the same hospital photo twice, I whispered. Saying it out loud made it more real and more disgusting. The room felt smaller, like the walls pushed closer to my shoulders. Back in the bedroom, I sat on the edge of the mattress. Matt snored softly, oblivious to the bomb I now held. I picked the phone up again and checked the comments. People wrote things like, "I'm so sorry," and "you'd be an amazing mom." She replied with heart emojis and vague, "maybe someday" lines. My thumb hovered over a private thread without pressing send. I imagined texting a screenshot and asking, "What is this?" I pictured her excuses already forming. Old photo, new tests, misunderstanding, anything to confuse the conversation. My chest ached with a mix of rage and pathetic hope. Hope that maybe there was some explanation that did not make her a monster. Hope that I had misread dates or filters or something technical. I zoomed in again on the older post's timestamp just to be sure. The year glared back at me, no way to twist it. She had recycled a medical scare for engagement on the day of my shower. That realization knocked the last shield off my brain. This was not just jealousy or clumsy support. This was someone willing to weaponize illness to collect sympathy. And she chose my pregnancy celebration as the perfect stage. I sat there shaking, realizing I had married into a circus. The worst part is this. I still did nothing that night. I turned off my phone and lay down beside my sleeping husband. I stared into the dark and listened to him breathe. While outside my door, an attention-hungry goblin danced on her own fake hospital stage, collecting hearts from strangers who had no idea. I hit send on the family group text and my hands shook. Can everyone come over tonight? I need to clear something up. No smiley faces, no explanation, just that. Within seconds, the chat exploded with questions and worried emojis. I dropped the phone on the table and finally committed to war. This all started with one ugly thought that would not shut up. What if that shower picture was not the only recycled crisis? So I spent a full nap window scrolling through her entire profile. Every vague hospital update, every dramatic caption, every teary selfie. I kept finding patterns that made my stomach twist tighter. She had posted in the ER 3 different times with nearly identical wording. Fighting for my life but smiling through it. Different years, same angle, same wristband, same background clutter. Once you see it, you cannot unsee it, and I felt physically sick. Each discovery pushed me closer to something I did not want to do. I started saving everything like I was building a case file. Screenshots of the repeated photos, the dates, the replies underneath. I grabbed the old engagement photo where she tagged my food choice. I paired it with her later, severe allergy story from the same night. Side by side, it looked less like bad luck and more like a stunt. By the time I finished, my camera roll looked like a conspiracy board. I knew if I brought it up one-on-one, she would spin it. She would cry, twist words, maybe post about me being abusive. So I made the gross decision to do it in front of everyone. Not because I love drama, but because I was done getting steamrolled. The door opened and Matt walked in from work, loosening his tie. He spotted the printed screenshots stacked on the coffee table. He picked one up, stared at it, then looked at me slowly. "What is this supposed to be?" His voice already had that tired edge that meant he felt cornered. "That," I tapped the paper in his hand, "is the same hospital photo she used 3 years apart." I pointed out the wristband, the fold in the sheet, the same expression. His eyes flicked over the details, then away like they burned. "That doesn't mean what you think it does." He dropped the sheet like it stung him. "Maybe she reused an old picture to talk about new tests." He raked his fingers through his hair, pacing between the couch and wall. "You know she struggles with how to ask for help. Most people struggling do not stage illness like a photo shoot." My voice cracked, and I hated that it made me sound unhinged. "She posted that as today's update on the same day as my shower." I grabbed another page and thrust it toward him. "This one is from years ago, same exact scene, explain that." He stared longer this time, jaw working hard. I watched him fight between logic and loyalty in real time. He finally dropped onto the couch and leaned forward, elbows on knees. "What are you planning tonight?" he asked, eyes fixed on the floor. "Because that group text freaked my mom out. I am going to show everyone what I found," calmly once. I tried to keep my tone steady like I had rehearsed it. "They deserve to know how far she goes when attention is available." My hands flattened against my thighs to stop their shaking. "I also need you to stop telling me to ignore it." He looked up at me then, and there was real fear in his face. "If you ambush her in front of the whole family, she will explode." He stood again and paced, breathing faster. "She will never forgive you, and my parents will take her side." A part of me wondered when my side ever counted in that equation. "I already live in her explosion," I answered, voice quiet but sharp. "Every milestone gets hijacked, and then I get asked to be understanding." I gestured at the pile of evidence, the printed lies between us. "I am done being understanding about fake hospital pictures." He pressed his palms over his eyes and swore under his breath. The doorbell rang before he could respond again. My chest tightened because once people stepped inside, there was no backing out. He headed for the entry while I gathered the papers into neat rows. I set my phone next to them with the gallery app open. If anyone doubted printouts, they could see the timestamps themselves. His parents came in first, hugging me a little too tightly. My mother-in-law's voice shook as she asked if the baby was okay. "I have been anxious all afternoon," she whispered near my ear. "I hope this is not bad news about the pregnancy." For a second I almost lied and called the whole thing off. "It's not about the baby's health," I answered, choosing each word slowly. "But it is about family, and I really need everyone to listen." Her forehead creased in confusion that was already tinged with suspicion. She glanced at her son over my shoulder as if asking whose idea this was. He avoided her eyes and went to pour himself a drink. Other relatives trickled in, curious and uneasy. You could feel that weird funeral energy, like everyone braced for impact. Some sat on the couch, others stood clustered near the wall. No one touched the snacks I had put out as a decoy. It felt like we were minutes from a verdict, not a visit. Jenna arrived last, of course, making an entrance like she always did. She stepped in with a big tired sigh, one hand on her midsection. "Sorry if I'm late, my doctor called again," she announced to the room. Instantly, every head turned toward her like she had pulled a string. I watched her soak in that attention and felt my stomach flip. She walked up and gave me a lingering hug that felt staged. "I hope this isn't something stressful," she murmured into my shoulder. I barely slept after everything this week. Her perfume mixed with the smell of my own sweat from nerves. I pulled back and motioned for everyone to sit down. "Okay," I started, voice shaky but loud enough. "I asked you all here because I need to talk about something specific." Eyes locked on me from every corner, some worried, some already defensive. I felt suddenly like I was back at my engagement party, glass midair. Only this time I had no intention of dropping the moment for her. "This is about social media," I said, and a few people visibly relaxed. Relieved laughs bubbled up, like they thought this was about a rude comment. "Please don't laugh," I added, my tone cutting through the noise. "What I'm about to show you is not harmless." The room quieted again, that heavy silence returning fast. I picked up the first set of pages and held them where everyone could see. On the left was her recent test day selfie. On the right was the older post, same outfit, same wires, same everything. "These are from 2 different years," I said, pointing to the dates. She used the same hospital photo to claim 2 separate emergencies. Jenna froze, smile flattening, hand dropping from her hair. My mother-in-law frowned and leaned closer to squint. "That doesn't prove anything," she snapped before Jenna even spoke. "People reuse pictures sometimes when they share feelings." Her tone carried that familiar accusation buried underneath. I did not respond to her yet. Instead, I tapped my phone and mirrored the screen to the TV. Both posts popped up in full size, timestamps enlarged at the top. I zoomed on the wristband, then the crease on the pillow. Gasps and low murmurs drifted across the room like small waves. "Why did you do this?" I asked, finally turning to Jenna. "No spin, no tears yet, just answer that question." My voice came out calmer than I felt, which honestly scared me. She blinked quickly, breathing picking up, eyes already shining. "That is a really invasive way to come at me." She looked around the room for backup, and half the faces softened. "You know, I have had multiple health scares," she went on. I was overwhelmed and grabbed an old image while I processed. She pressed her hand to her chest rising fast. "I cannot believe you stalked my profile to attack me like this." I ignored the attack line and clicked to the next set. Her caption from the shower day about losing my future babies. Under it, hundreds of comments sending love and sympathy. I moved to the next screenshot, my party decor visible behind her. There she was on my couch, talking about grief while holding her phone. "You wrote this on the same day you came to my celebration," I said. "Did any doctor say you were losing anything that morning?" She hesitated one beat, then lifted her chin. "They said there might be a problem," she replied, eyes locked on mine. I felt like my future was being ripped away. That counts. A bitter laugh slipped out before I could stop it. "They told you needed further tests, that's what you texted me." I pulled up her exact messages to me from that morning. On the screen, her own words glowed in sharp white bubbles. No mention of confirmed diagnoses, just vague phrases and drama. My father-in-law cleared his throat, looking uncomfortable. "This is getting very personal," he muttered half to himself. "Maybe this conversation should be between the two of you." I turned to him so fast my neck twinged. "That is exactly how this has kept going," I answered. "She performs misery in public," I continued, words tumbling faster. "She turns every important moment for us into her stage." I gestured toward the screen packed with hearts and sad comments. Then I get pulled aside and told to be patient with her feelings. My pulse roared in my ears, but I kept speaking. "Look at the dates," I told the room. "That restaurant incident on our engagement night." I flipped to another image, a post from that evening. "My allergy scare almost killed me tonight, some people don't think." She had tagged the venue and tacked on a dramatic prayer emoji. I did not need to remind them who chose the menu, everyone knew. His mother's face hardened as she recognized the implication. "You are twisting that into something ugly," she snapped at me. She was genuinely reacting, and you are mocking her near death. The phrase near death almost made me choke. I took a breath through my teeth and pointed again. She refused to go to the hospital, I reminded her quietly. She told the manager no ambulance, no needles, just drama. I toggled to another screenshot, a message she sent a friend later. "Guess I scared them a little, at least I got his attention." That line hung in the air like smoke. Several relatives read it twice, eyes widening, lips parting. One cousin let out a low whistle before catching herself. Matt stepped closer to the screen, shoulders tense, face drained. "Did you actually write that?" he asked, sounding winded. Jenna opened and closed her mouth, then crossed her arms. "You are violating my privacy," she shot back instead of answering. "Everyone jokes in messages when they are trying to cope." She looked at him, not me, seeking the safer reaction. "You know how scared I was on that floor." "You keep saying scared," I cut in, voice sharper now. "But every time there is an audience and a spotlight involved." I clicked through more examples quickly, not giving her space to derail. Vague posts before my wedding, before our announcement, before every event. Each one painted her as fragile and overshadowed, always just in time. My mother-in-law's cheeks flushed a deep, angry red. "You sound obsessed," she hissed at me. "You are digging through years of her life for what? Revenge?" Her hands trembled, whether from anger or fear I could not tell. "You are crucifying her for expressing pain differently than you." That word obsessed stung because there was a sliver of truth. I had spent hours tracking this pattern, connecting dots like a detective. But the more I saw, the harder it was to look away. "I am not inventing these posts," I replied, voice now low and steady. "They are her words, her images, her chosen timing." Silence settled again, thicker now, everyone waiting for the next blow. So I swung it. I pulled up her latest story from 20 minutes earlier. It showed a close shot of her eyes, already red and watery. Caption: "On my way to a very painful family talk, wish me strength." I held my phone up so they could all see the timestamp. "She went live about this conversation before it even started," I said. "She has already cast herself as the victim in a scene no one watched yet." It landed like a punch, even on people trying to stay neutral. Someone cursed softly in the corner and a chair creaked. Jenna's face twisted, the polite sadness dropping for a second. "You are controlling how I share my life now," she spat. "You want to script every word out of my mouth." She raised her voice, chest heaving, eyes wild. "This is emotional abuse, and you are doing it while pregnant." There it was, the final card. Use my pregnancy as a shield against any confrontation. I felt something inside me snap in a clean, hard way. "I am not your content," I said, each word slow and precise. "Neither is my child, that ends tonight." She stared at me like she did not recognize the person talking. For once, I did not rush in to soften the blow or apologize. I let the full weight of the moment sit on her shoulders. Matt stood between us now, not touching either side. He looked like someone who just realized the bridge under him was rotten. "Are any of these posts fake?" he asked her quietly. No anger, just that one question floating in the air. She blinked several times, lashes wet, lips trembling. "You know I struggle with honesty when I feel abandoned," she whispered. It was almost an admission, and also somehow not one. "Did a doctor tell you you were losing your ability to have children?" he pressed. His voice gained a slight tremor while he waited. She looked down at her hands, nails digging into her palms. "They said my numbers might be low," she murmured finally. "A friend told me that could mean the same thing in a few years." My knees almost buckled hearing that. "Might be low" turned into "I'm grieving my future children in public," I said. "You chose my celebration day to roll that out for sympathy." I was not even shouting anymore, just stating facts like ugly weather. "That is not coping, that is manipulation." His mother broke then, tears spilling down her face. "Do you hear yourself?" she cried at me. "You are tearing your family apart over internet drama." She turned to her son, desperate and shaking. Tell her to stop, she is attacking your sister while carrying your child. He looked from his mother to his sister to me. I could see everything battling behind his eyes. The little boy trained to comfort his sister no matter what. The husband who had watched me bite my tongue for years. The soon-to-be father who suddenly cared how chaos would hit our kid. I can't tell her to stop, he answered slowly, voice rough. Not when every screenshot matches what I have seen in real time. He met my gaze then, and something like apology flickered there. I didn't want to believe you before, but this is a lot. For the first time, he caught Jenna's arm when she moved toward the door. She jerked back from his grip like it burned. You are really siding with her right now, she demanded, wide-eyed. She collected my worst moments like trophies and you are impressed. She laughed once, a harsh short sound that made my skin crawl. You two deserve each other, cold, calculating, heartless. I almost reacted, then stopped myself. I had heard this script too many times in softer forms. This was just the unmasked version, claws out and teeth bared. I am done with the guilt trips, I told her quietly. You can get help for whatever this is, but you are not doing it on my back. She wobbled a little then, hand flying to her forehead. I watched numb as she swayed in the middle of the room. You could feel everyone brace for another collapse like at the restaurant. My body even tensed out of muscle memory. Old training dies hard, but I did not move toward her. If you faint, someone else can catch you, I said, still standing quite still. No one is calling an ambulance unless you actually want treatment. Her eyes snapped open at that, fury blazing through the fragile act. She steadied herself, straightened, and glared at me with open hatred. The performance cracked when the audience refused its role. She grabbed her bag with jerky movements and stormed to the door. As she yanked it open, she turned back for one last shot. I will never forgive you for humiliating me like this, she shouted. You just declared war on me and on his whole family. Then she slammed the door so hard the frames rattled on the wall. Silence settled over the room like dust after a wreck. No one knew where to look, so most of them stared at their shoes. A few relatives mumbled excuses and slipped out quietly. My mother-in-law sat down heavily, wiping at her smeared mascara. My father-in-law stared at the TV, still frozen on her posts. I don't know what to say, he finally muttered. She shouldn't have done those things. He shook his head slowly, like he wished he could rewind. But I also don't know how we come back from this. I appreciated the honesty even if it solved nothing. My mother-in-law turned on me one more time, eyes raw. I hope you're satisfied, she hissed, voice ragged. You have broken your husband's heart and his sister's spirit. She stood up, grabbing her purse with shaking hands. You didn't expose a villain tonight, you became one. The words hit hard, I won't lie. For a second I almost apologized just to end the look on her face. Then I glanced at the TV full of fake emergencies and stolen spotlights. I thought about my baby, who had not even been born yet. Who would grow up in whatever pattern I accepted in that living room. Most people cleared out in ones and twos after that. Some hugged me quickly and whispered that they understood what I did. Others avoided my eyes entirely, aligning themselves by silence. Eventually the house emptied, leaving only wrappers and the hum of the fridge. I felt more drained than I had after labor. In the quiet, Matt and I sat on opposite ends of the couch. We stared at the dark screen where her posts had been. I need to ask you something, I said finally, voice barely above a whisper. Are you going to try to make me fix this with her? The answer to that would decide more than he realized. He tipped his head back and closed his eyes for a long beat. I don't even know what fixing this would look like anymore, he replied. She lied about serious stuff over and over again. He opened his eyes and looked straight at me. I won't ask you to pretend that's okay, not again. My lungs loosened a little, like I had been holding my breath for years. That doesn't mean I will cut her off overnight, he added, honest and hesitant. But I understand if you need boundaries for you and the baby. Boundaries, actual ones, not just words people toss out at brunch. It felt like hearing a foreign language and finally understanding it. That night when I went to bed, I checked my phone one last time. Jenna had already posted a long story about being ambushed by family. She talked about being called a liar by someone married into the bloodline. She wrote that she might disappear for a while because this broke her. The comments poured in, calling her brave and urging her to rest. For the first time, I did not feel the urge to defend myself there. I did not screenshot it or craft a response or send it to anyone. I just blocked her stories and set my phone face down on the nightstand. Not a dramatic block, not a final speech, just a quiet click. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is step off the stage. I wish I could wrap this up with a neat lesson. Like everyone believed me and now we are all healed. That is not how it works when someone feeds on attention like oxygen. Some relatives still think I went too far, some pretend nothing happened. Jenna still plays tragic heroine online for strangers who only see her tears. But in my house with my kid, things feel different now. I do not jump every time my phone buzzes with her name. I do not rearrange my milestones around her latest crisis. If she wants an audience, she can find one that is not built for my spine. For once, the goblin does not run the whole story, and that is enough of an ending for me.